Thanks for spending some time with us. We're going to record this session so that anyone who was unable to be with us is able to go back and view. So is everyone okay with that, with recording? Yes. And then, of course, if you're not, feel free to take your screenshot off, and you can even remove your name if you'd like to, okay? So we've started recording. My name is Nicole Patenteri. I am the director of the Florida Center for Reading Research and one of the directors of this project. And we're gonna get started with a presentation, at which point we'll introduce everyone else. But you see here with us, I'll just do it before I share my screen, Dr. Sarah Hart. She's our co-director for the project, and Katie Goodman, who is our project director. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Okay, and you all can see the PowerPoint, correct? Okay, so thanks so much for joining us for the Fireflies information session. And I'm a huge fan of acronyms. So Fireflies stands for Florida Interdisciplinary Research Fellows in Education Sciences. We are very happy that you're here with us. And as I've said, we'll be recording this session so that folks can go back and look at it at a later time. We would love to see your face, so video's on, but of course, if you're uncomfortable with that, feel free not to have your video on. And when we will present for about 30 minutes, and then we'll leave another 30 minutes for questions. And so if and when you have questions, drop them in the chat box, and then just unmute yourself when you're ready to ask your question. And until then, go ahead and keep your line muted. So as we've just introduced ourselves, I am Nicole Patenteri and Dr. Sarah Hart. Together, we are the directors of this doctoral research training program. And Katie Goodman has joined our team and serves as our project coordinator. You can find information out about us simply by checking us out on Twitter or LinkedIn, but you can also email us directly. So what is Fireflies? Fireflies is a doctoral training program funded by the Institute of Education Sciences. And our goal is to prepare individuals who seek to become academic leaders and researchers in educational sciences. We are particularly focused on the interdisciplinary study of reading. So there are doctoral training grants like this at several universities across the country. Ours is specifically focused on studying reading from multiple disciplines. A total of 18 doctoral students will be recruited to participate in this program over the life of the training program, which is it's a 5-year program. This year, we will recruit 10 students to begin the program in fall of 2021. What we hope Fireflies is a program that allows you to join a vast intellectual community here at Florida State and at the Florida Center for Reading Research, where we are preparing you to be what we like to think of as stewards of education, of reading research. And what that means is we want to develop deep disciplinary and interdisciplinary knowledge in you. And we want you to be able to use that knowledge to communicate with diverse stakeholders around learning outcomes for students. We want you to be able to provide leadership and service to our profession and to the community at large. And we want you to be able to harness the power of research and quantitative research in particularly to advance our fields. We also are very, I think you're getting an echo. Not sure why. Might have resolved itself. We also try to make that happen where we're developing these competencies, you in research and leadership and service and entrepreneurship. We're going to develop those competencies in you by providing a diverse intellectual community that takes joint ownership for your development. We like to see a reciprocal relationship between you as students and us as faculty. We like to provide structured and supported mentorship so that you can succeed in the careers that you're seeking here. And we want to make sure that you're engaging locally and nationally so that the research that you do, the scholarship that you do is impactful to our community and makes a difference to how well children are reading in school and how well folks are living their lives. Fireflies is housed at the Florida Center for Reading Research, and FCRR is an interdisciplinary research center here at Florida State University in Tallahassee, Florida. We have faculty across several programs and disciplines that together investigate all aspects of reading across the lifespan. We do that through rigorous and robust research, innovation, and engagement. So our goal really is to advance the science of reading and making sure that we contribute to the public by making sure that we use all of these research approaches and methods to understand learning and understand achievement from birth through adulthood. Faculty within FCRR do that by influencing research as well as practice and policy. So we like to see this nice sort of cohesive engagement between the research that we do informing practice, which also informs policy, which then again also informs our research. These are faculty across FCRR, and Fireflies scholars will be matched to faculty who will serve as their mentors and advisors. You can be matched to faculty who are core faculty within FCRR as well as affiliated faculty within FCRR. If you visit our website, you can find out more about who these faculty are as well as what their interests are. But it's important to keep in mind that as a Fireflies Fellow, your advisor is an FCRR faculty member. And you see faculty here and across several disciplines and programs here at Florida State, including educational psychology, reading education, special education, developmental psychology, clinical psychology, social work, and communication sciences and disorders. Our current Fireflies fellows, again, we will recruit over the life of this program 18 doctoral students to participate. This year, 4 students began the program. And what I want you to notice here is that they are in different disciplines. So Rebecca is in communication sciences and disorders, Kristen is in reading education, Chris is in clinical psychology, and Cynthia is in developmental psychology. All studying in different disciplines, all with faculty at FCRR who are their primary advisors, but all focused on reading. The training program for Fireflies includes a mix of activities that prepare you through courses and pro seminars, research activities, and leadership, entrepreneurship, and service activities. Courses and pro seminars are going to be a balance of the coursework that is required in your doctoral program, as well as some core courses that are required for the Fireflies training program. These will accumulate into an education sciences certificate that you will receive upon completion of the program. In addition, every week we have pro seminars and lectures available here on campus that you will participate in. And Fireflies will host a colloquium series every fall and spring semester focused on critical issues in education sciences. One thing that's really unique about our program and that we really value here is that there are several other doctoral training programs happening on campus, which happen to be led by faculty associated with FCRR. And so our pro seminars and lectures get to be interdisciplinary in nature. So students are engaging with other students within their programs as well as across their programs, and doing so helps them develop as interdisciplinary scholars. In addition, with your primary advisor, you will work on research throughout the entire time that you're here in the training program. That typically is about 20 hours a week that you work with your advisor on different projects that they're working on. In addition, during your time during the training program, we'll also make sure that you get the opportunity to work with another faculty person in another discipline doing research in a very different way, but also focused on reading. And again, in that way, that will help you develop that interdisciplinary lens through which we study reading. You'll also attend conferences and present at those conferences with your advisors. Unfortunately, we happen to be in the middle of a global pandemic that is restricting our ability to attend conferences in person. Hopefully that will come back and that'll be something we'll be able to do. But in the meanwhile, we have been participating in virtual conferences and presenting at virtual conferences, and you would have the opportunity to do that as well. You'll also publish with your advisor. Research is a big part of this program, and so you will be actively engaging in research in the same ways that we do as researchers and develop those competencies over time. In addition, a big part of what we do is lead in our fields, and we make sure that the work that we do improves outcomes in policy and practice. And so you will have the opportunity to apprentice in a policy or practice setting as the researcher supporting our partners in their needs and addressing their needs for whoever their stakeholders are. That might be a local school district, it could be a state education agency, it could be a policy institute, it can be a local nonprofit. So we have partners here at FCRR who we work with regularly to address their needs, and we'll work with you as you develop in the program to match you accordingly so that you can have an apprenticeship experience that allows you to see how we can bridge research and practice and research and policy. In addition, there are several programs here available at FSU that will help develop competencies in you to join an academic career. And so you'll participate in some of those programs. And there are also many national organizations within your disciplines and within your field that you'll have the opportunity to gain membership in those organizations and participate in different sessions that they provide as well to develop you as a scholar. So let's talk about the funding package. Fireflies fellows receive a stipend of $34,000 annually. That is for you to study full time. And so the intention is that you study full time and that you don't take outside employment, because you are getting a very generous stipend for doctoral study. In addition, you receive up to $12,000 to defray the cost of tuition and student health insurance. All Fireflies fellows are required to be on campus, on site here in Florida, and doing so you will gain residency here, and that will help support us in applying in-state tuition fees so that you can you will be able to use this $12,000 fund to support tuition costs. In addition, every year you will receive $2,000 annually to support your research, travel engagement, and on professional development as a doctoral scholar. So these are funds that you can use to travel to conferences and support defraying the cost of hotels and registration fees. When you eventually do begin conducting research, perhaps you need to buy materials. This is a fund that you can use to do that. You also have a technology fund that will allow us to get you a laptop or a desktop or whatever it is that whatever technology setup that you'd like to use to support yourself. And then any sorts of engagement that you might want to do across your field, that this is a fund that you can use to help you do that. And so you'll get that annually every year that you're in the program. Your program, assuming that you continue to make good progress towards meeting requirements of the program, you will be in this program for 4 years. And so you would receive this package for 4 years. To apply for Fireflies, what you are doing is applying to a doctoral program of study here at Florida State. And so you're going to apply to a doctoral program in which one of the FCR faculty members that you want to study with is in, and you're going to apply for admissions into that doctoral program. And as a part of your application process for when you apply for doctoral study, we can consider you for this fellowship opportunity. You should keep in mind that the deadlines for doctoral programs differ. So again, Fireflies has faculty who are in 7 different doctoral programs. They all have different deadlines. But in order for you to be considered for Fireflies, we need you to apply as early as possible, because some of the deadlines for these programs are as early as December 1st. So if you intend to be competitive for Fireflies funding, you want to apply no later than January 1st, 2021. Because we will begin to review applications and interview candidates in early 2021. When you apply to your doctoral program, if you indicate that you are interested in being considered for the Fireflies Fellowship, the faculty in that program will review your application. And if you're a good fit, you will be contacted to submit a separate application for the Fireflies Fellowship, which really just includes a letter of interest as to why you're interested in the fellowship program and why you think it will support you in achieving your goals as a scholar. Should you be accepted into the Fireflies Fellowship program, you'll sign a letter of agreement that lets us know that you want to receive this fellowship, that you intend to enroll at Florida State in the fall as a full-time student and meet all the requirements of receiving the fellowship. This is why you need to apply early, because we will need to seat all of the candidates as soon as possible so that candidates know that they have funding and are able to plan for moving to Tallahassee, for some of them, in fall 2021. So again, it is important that you apply to the doctoral program that you're interested in no later than January 1st, 2021 to be considered fully for this fellowship opportunity. So which doctoral program? By now, you should be looking to determine, one, whether or not you want to be a doctoral student, and then two, if so, in what discipline. Within FCRR, there are faculty in 4 different colleges and units, which include the School of Communications, the College of Education, the College of Social Work, and the College of Arts and Sciences. Sorry, and that's the College of Communications. And then within them, there are different doctoral programs. So you, for example, in Florida State's College of Education, there is a doctoral program in curriculum instruction, where there are 2 concentration areas of interest where FCRR faculty are housed. That is reading education and special education. There is also an educational psychology doctoral program in the College of Ed, where faculty are housed in the learning and cognition program. So if you were interested in applying to be a doctoral student in one of these programs, you'll need to look at those programs, look at those requirements, make sure that you're a good match for them, and then make sure then that you can pursue doctoral study in those programs. In addition, FCRR faculty are part of the School of Communication Sciences and Disorders. So if you are interested in pursuing doctoral study there, again, you need to look at that program. FCRR faculty are members of the psychology department in the College of Arts and Sciences, and so you need to make sure you look at the developmental or clinical psychology programs there, which is where our faculty are housed. And then finally, social work, where we have faculty as well. So again, you want to be very specific about looking at what doctoral program you're interested in pursuing. If there are FCRR faculty in those programs whose interests match your own and who you would be interested in working with. And then if the Fireflies opportunity is appropriate for you in pursuing your goals. An FCRR faculty member must be assigned as your primary advisor. So if you are, for example, accepted into the curriculum and instruction doctoral program, where there are several faculty, if a faculty person who is not an FCRR faculty member is assigned your primary advisor, then you would not be eligible for this funding opportunity. So it is important that you match yourselves up to the doctoral program you're interested in, as well as the FCRR faculty person you're interested in working with. In addition, we are looking for individuals who seek a career as a leading academic researcher. The goal of this training program is to train researchers, and in particular to train researchers in the field of reading research. This means you must be interested in studying reading. If you're not interested in studying reading, and again, we study reading from an interdisciplinary lens, but if you're not interested in studying some aspects of reading, then this training program is not a good match for you. Students must also be focused on reading in preschool through 12th grade in the United States and studying it from an interdisciplinary lens. So you may be interested in reading achievement, but you may be interested in focusing on populations that are in other countries, or you may be interested in understanding aspects of reading for adults, let's say. Those are wonderful things to study, but they would not be a good fit for this training program. For this training program, we will be focused on P12 student reading achievement and in the United States. And then of course, we've already said it, but it bears repeating, you will be required to study full-time on campus for the duration of the training program without taking on any additional employment. The goal is for you to focus intently and squarely on this new move you're making in your career to join the ranks of academic researchers and scholars. And doing that requires some concerted effort and concentrated effort on your part. And so we expect that you study full-time on campus for the entirety of the program without distraction. Other things that are important to consider. We are looking for scholars who can contribute to the diversity of FCRR. And what that means for us is FCRR is a very interdisciplinary research center. We study reading from all different sides, aspects, and characteristics, and we want folks who can help us do that. So we want to see how it is that you can uniquely contribute to the ways in which we think about reading from a diverse lens. We want folks with diverse experiences with reading, with diverse perspectives on reading, with diverse experiences themselves in developing and understanding things associated with reading. So we're looking for folks who can contribute to our diversity because we do believe our diversity is a strength. We're also interested in folks who have foundational knowledge of reading and reading research. Now, you may not have expert knowledge in reading or reading research, and in fact, you shouldn't. That's why you're going to come study for a doctorate that focuses on that area. So we understand that you'll be developing that knowledge, but it will be more competitive candidates for this fellowship opportunity will be folks who've had some understanding, experience, knowledge around reading. In addition, it will be helpful if you've had previous research experiences in preparation. This is a doctoral training program that is fast-paced. You will be expected to graduate with your PhD in or near about 4 years. And so it moves really fast. And the coursework is really intense. And so having previous research experiences in preparation, while not required, will certainly help you. The same is true for having previous P-12 education professional experiences. Again, not required, but because we are focusing on reading in a P-12 population, it can help you, and it can help frame you and give you some foundational knowledge on what it is that you'll be studying. So not required, but definitely will help you. We also tend to study students who struggle with different aspects of reading. We tend to study issues and concerns for folks where reading isn't always coming along so easily, whether that be individuals with disabilities, individuals growing up in poverty, individuals who may or may not have had access to high quality early learning experiences. So we really tend to demonstrate strengths in those areas and with those populations. And so you may find a better fit with our faculty if you're interested in focusing on those populations. We're looking for folks who want to build who have the capacity to build strong quantitative methodological expertise. FCRR, in fact, is quite well known for its quantitative methodological expertise, and we will develop those competencies in you, and we will expect that of you. So we are looking for candidates who are ready to take on the challenges of learning and excelling with rigorous quantitative methods. We're also looking for folks who are strong in oral, written communication skills, and even multimedia skills. We're in a world now where folks are engaging with research in many diverse ways and using different media to do that. And while we will build those competencies in you, we'll want to make sure that you see that benefit and that you're able to engage in these really diverse ways to communicate your science to the public. And then we're also looking for folks who want to lead, right? FCRR has a reputation for leading in the field of reading research, and we want all students who come away from our programming to feel the same way. So we want you to be able to step out and lead the charge and lead this field and move it forward and gain the skills that allow you to do that. In order to do all of these things, you're gonna have to have some level of maturity. There's a level of professional and personal maturity that's required to move through any sort of doctoral study, but certainly doctoral study that is as fast-paced as this will be. And so we'll be looking for you to demonstrate some personal and professional maturity. We're looking for folks who wanna work hard, who can demonstrate their own initiative and get things done and work independently. This doctoral study is not like a 9-to-5 kind of job. It's a very different beast, and it does require you to be able to manage your time and manage your own schedules and drive yourself forward. It also means that you want to be a person who's a lifelong learner. You're a person who's interested in always knowing more, understanding more, looking for more information, looking for more answers. That's just sort of part of what we do. That's what scientists do. We're always interested in asking and answering questions and always searching for more information. So good folks who take well to these types of programs are folks who have this thirst for knowledge and who continuously want to learn more. And then finally, again, this is a cohort style kind of program. We've already got 4 new students in. We're going to take in 10 new students. It will be helpful if you can work with others and if you can work collaboratively. Much of science these days to answer the big questions, to get the big breakthroughs that come through in the science that we do, almost never can be done alone. You're always working with someone else. And so we'll be looking to see if you're an individual who can demonstrate the ability to work collaboratively with others and collectively with others to move our goals forward. So that's the basic information about the fellowship program. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here so that you all can ask and answer questions. We can answer questions for you. Again, we remind you to use your chat function and unmute yourself when you're ready to ask a question. And then as you follow up and looking at and have more questions that may come after this session, you're going to want to send any follow-up questions about the training program to Katie Goodman. And when I show off my screen, we'll show you again, but Katie's our project director. She can answer questions around the nuts and bolts of the program. But if you're interested in questions about doctoral study or research opportunities, you'll want to email the faculty of interest. And so you'll want to think again about the doctoral program that you're interested in pursuing and whether or not there are faculty in that program who can support you in your journey. Okay, so I've stopped sharing my screen now. I know that was a lot of information to throw at you. Please feel free to ask any questions that you may have. We're here to help.
Dr. Patton-Terry, we do have one question from Melanie. She asks, can we select a primary and a secondary mentor?
No, you will be assigned a primary advisor. The process for assigning advisors differs by program, and so it will be very specific to the program to which you're pursuing. So I will give you the example for the program that I am in. I am in the Curriculum and Instruction program in the School of Teacher Education at Florida State, and then specifically in the Reading Education concentration. So in the Reading Education program, we have 2 faculty. When we receive applications, we look to see which students' interests match our own, and then we assign the student a primary advisor. On occasion, we will have joint advisors between us, but that really depends on if the student's interests are best met by being advised by both of us. But in general, one of us is the primary advisor. How do they do it in psychology, Dr. Hart?
Yeah, I'll speak to it from the psychology perspective. So psychology as a whole, so with FCRR faculty being in clinical and developmental psychology, we use a mentorship model. And so when you apply to either of the programs, you can list through the FSU slate application, you can list up to 3 advisors, but what happens practically, 3 potential advisors, what happens practically is within the program, we really only look at people who assign you as a first advisor. So I might look just to make sure the other ones aren't a good fit, but really you're really applying to work with a specific mentor, a specific advisor. And so although it's not abnormal, like Dr. Patton-Terry said, that you might have you might end up with a co-advisor because that's a really good fit. The entrance into the program really is based on matching with a primary advisor. That's who your mentor is going to be.
I'll also follow up and say that for the Fireflies Fellowship, each fellow is assigned a program studies committee. This committee is separate than the committee you will have in your doctoral program for your dissertation, although the members may overlap. But this committee will be Dr. Hart or myself and 2 other faculty members, one who's probably in your discipline and one who is outside of your discipline. And together we will guide you through your doctoral study and try to provide support and mentorship in addition to whatever you're going to get in your home doctoral program. We're pulling that committee together for each fellow on purpose, again, to make sure that you develop these competencies in this interdisciplinary study of reading, because that's who we are, right? We study reading from multiple different lenses. And so we want to make sure that we're developing scholars who can do that as well. And that's one way we can do it. So that could be another way that you might find yourselves engaging with another mentor other than your advisor.
And then we have 2 more questions. Dr. Hart, you may be able to answer these. Camille, she said she is in her first year in the educational psychology program. Is she still eligible for Fireflies? And how does she find out if her advisor is also an FCRR faculty?
You want me? You can take it.
Yeah, why don't you take that because it's in education, Nicole, you probably know a little better.
Sure. So the educational psychology program is actually in the College of Education. If you are a first-year student, you can apply for the Fireflies Fellowship Program. The only FCRR faculty person in educational psychology is Beth Phillips. And so you would need to know if she would need to be your primary advisor. And so if you were interested in studying with her through this program, then you should reach out to her and contact her, make sure your interests align, and make sure that she'd be willing to take you on as a doctoral student, because she would become your primary advisor.
And then we have another question. Where can we find current research or publications from the advisors in relation to this fellowship?
Sure. If you look at each faculty member with an FCRR, as is true of most departments, if you look in our departments, you will see our home pages, and our home pages tend to have links to information about who we are, what our areas of interest are, and what our CVs look like. CVs are like resumes, and our CVs will have publications on them, so you can look there. In addition, you can probably find us if you just Google. If you Google around, you'll find our names and you'll find the things that we've written. If you look in Google Scholar specifically and put our names in, you will find different articles and things that we've written as well.
Okay, that's all the questions in the chat.
Okay. As more questions might come up, I have a couple of things that I've noticed from folks who've sent us emails with interest that I think might be helpful to discuss for you all, as well as others who might soon view this video. So the first question that comes up a lot is, what is this whole interdisciplinary study of reading thing, and how do you do that? How can I be a person who is, for example, interested in social work and study reading? So we have faculty who in social work, for example, Latanya Noel and Yakov Petcher, who are interested in things like trauma and how trauma might impact the development of academic skills, how we might design interventions to mitigate the negative impacts of trauma on the development of academic skills, and students who are interested in figuring out how to study that from an intervention standpoint. Students who are interested in figuring out how to study it from an assessment standpoint. How can we design assessments that look at social, emotional, and academic skills at the same time? Within this program, the academic skill you're going to focus on is reading, but you can be interested in studying it from your disciplinary lens, which is social work. In addition, we have faculty who are in the communication sciences and disorders program. So these are folks who study things related to speech language pathology. They study things associated with language, whether it be typical or atypical development. So maybe you're interested in understanding how language is associated with reading development. Maybe you're interested in understanding how individuals with specific language impairments develop language and literacy skills. Maybe you're interested, again, in designing assessments that allow you to look at these interactions between oral and written language. Maybe you're interested in bilingual learners and what happens for them in learning reading and writing. That's one way that our researchers who are in that discipline look at reading. Specifically in education, we have faculty in reading education, educational psychology, and special education. So these are folks who are interested in dyslexia. They're interested in curriculum and how curriculum supports the development of reading skills. They're interested in teachers and how teachers make a difference to reading skills. They're interested in learning and cognition and motivation and early childhood development and school and home factors and how they relate to children understanding reading and writing. So we study, I'm gonna bring in Dr. Hart. Tell us a little bit about how folks in, let's say, in clinical and developmental psychology think about reading.
Yeah, so in developmental psychology, we think of reading kind of in two ways. It's a basic cognitive process that we can study how it develops. So how children learn basic reading component skills and then how those develop across time. We also are interested in developmental psychology in quantitative methodology. So development, how somebody changes or doesn't change across time, really is a statistical methodological approach, right? So we train our graduate students in developmental psychology to be quantitative methodologists. So to be successful in our program, you have to be interested in training pretty intensively in statistics and methods with about 7 classes in different advanced statistics part of our course load. So that would make you a good fit in developmental psychology if you're interested in the quantitative methodology piece, as well as the basic cognitive processes of reading and how those develop across time. Clinical psychology, it's just one faculty member at FCRR who's in clinical psychology. It may seem a little abnormal to have a clinical psychologist doing this work. That's Dr. Chris Lonergan. And he He also studies basic processes in reading and how aspects especially emergent reading. So his specialty is in preschool age children. And he is also interested in how other clinical psychology, how other aspects like comorbid disorders, like maybe how ADHD is related to reading and related to reading disability and how that develops in younger children. But with clinical psychology, on top of that basic interest in the reading processes, you also have then the practical side. So you'd be training in a clinic to be doing counseling, therapy, as any other clinical psychology student would. And so that's a whole other thing that's not quite related to reading in the same way, that is part of the training in clinical psychology.
Mm-hmm. So what's key here is your training in your discipline and your training and gaining expertise in reading. You're going to do both at the same time. And so you want to be pursuing doctoral study with the intention of gaining both at the same time. The second question that that we've gotten a lot is, as folks have expressed interest in this program, is there a specific faculty they'd like to work with? So a few things you want to think about. The first is the faculty need to be FCRR faculty. So if you're interested in working with faculty who are not FCRR faculty, then this program is not a good fit for you. And you should continue to pursue and look at those other faculty who may have their own funding opportunities that we aren't aware of, but they are certainly aware of and might be able to provide for you should you be a good for them. So you definitely want to make sure you're considering the faculty that you want to work with, because doctoral study is very much so about the match between your interests and the faculty who are able to get you there, okay? The second is you really want to make sure in looking at that faculty member that they are in a program where you can be admitted as a doctoral student and pursue doctoral study in that field, because that is the field you are interested in pursuing. For example, I am faculty in the reading education program in a college of education. That means I am going to train individuals who want to go take on faculty positions in colleges of education. They are going to want to train teachers. They're going to want to work in and do things with schools. That means then, to be a good candidate for my doctoral program, you had to have had some experience teaching in schools. Now, we do have students who have not had experiences teaching in K-12 schools before, but they have a much more difficult time gaining a PhD in a teacher education program, because that's what we do. And when they graduate with a PhD in a teacher education program, the expectation will be that they can then go train teachers. They will have a difficult time getting a job in a college of education to train teachers if they themselves have never taught students. So you really do need to make sure that it's not just that you're matching with me because your interests happen to align with my interests, but you are seeking a field, you're seeking a career, and you want to make sure that the doctoral program you choose to enroll in is going to help you get towards that career, and make sure that you meet the requirements that allow you to be a good doctoral student in that program. Dr. Hart, do you have an example as well for psychology?
Yeah, I can speak to from in developmental psychology, we don't have the same expectation that you would have teaching experience. None of our students have ever had that before, but we are a basic research science. And that psychology, right, is a STEM discipline. And so we expect that our students have had considerable research experience prior to coming into our program. So things like having done an honors thesis or worked in somebody's lab as a research student would be areas that we would be looking at from previous experience with students, right? You have to understand research and understand the science, like how science works and the day-to-day life of science before coming into our heavily kind of research-based program. So those are the background characteristics that we're looking for from students. And like I said, developmental psychology is also, we're heavily interested in statistics and methodology. So having taken an undergraduate level, or if you've done a master's degree, statistics class or research methodology class and having done well in it, being interested in it, are also traits that we're looking for students to be successful to enter into our program. And to maybe give an example outside of psychology, Dr. Patenteria, I would think that going into communication sciences and disorders, as a PhD student, the expectation will have been that you have potentially been a practicing speech language pathologist before, and that you have your C's, and you come in with that previous field experience into the PhD program. Would you agree with me there?
Absolutely. Very likely it will be a prerequisite for entrance into a program like that. In addition, that's a perfect example in a field like communication sciences and disorders. All doctoral students have master's degrees. They have a master's in speech language pathology or audiology or a related field. In psychology, often students come in without a master's and gain the master's as they're moving through. Depending on the discipline and education, you may or may not have a master's degree before you enter into a doctoral program. Most students have a master's or ed specialist or some sort of advanced degree beyond their undergraduate degree. And almost all have some experience teaching students, whether it be in public or private schools, whether it be in middle, high school, elementary schools, but they have some experience working with students one-on-one, because you need that street credibility in order to be able to then go teach others to teach students. So you really do want to be thinking about the discipline you're intending to join and whether or not this doctoral program can help you pursue that discipline. And that's the third thing I'll add here. So it is important that you remember that you are moving into doctoral study because you are making a career change. Whatever it is you're currently doing, you don't want to do that anymore. You want to do something different. You want to get a PhD because you want to become a researcher and a leader in your academic discipline. PhDs are research degrees. They're there to train you to be a researcher and then contribute to the academic research in your field of discipline in any number of ways. We tend to train our students to take on positions as faculty members in universities because that's what we do. And so we want you to be like us when you grow up. So that's what we do, and we know how to do it well, and that's what we train you to do. So that means you're walking away. You're walking away from whatever it is you're doing right now, whatever your other activities might be, to focus heavily and intently on joining this new career path. And we're going to give you multiple opportunities to grow and to develop the competencies that are necessary to join this career path that you're taking. So you really do want to think about it that way. This is not just going to graduate school. This is not like it is when you go get a master's degree. This is, I am pursuing a whole different career. I'm pursuing a whole different field, and this is how I'm going to get there. And we think this program, of course, can help you move there and move there rapidly and gain significant amount of expertise and experience to do it. But it is going to require dedication on your part to know that that's the job you want when you grow up, and to know that this is how you get there, and to know that that's what you're here for, and that we will help you get there. But it is a commitment on your part to do it and see it that way.
And there were a few more questions in the chat. Camille asked, and I think we kind of answered this, are you allowed to work as a TA while in the program? Will we be able to teach an undergraduate class during our time in the program?
So no, you are not able to take outside employment. A TA is actually a different job than being a graduate research assistant, which is what you will be. You will be a research assistant. Now, that does not mean you will not have opportunities to teach at the post-secondary level, because we know for you to be a future academic faculty member at a university, you have to know how to teach at the post-secondary level. And so those opportunities will be built into your experience so that you do gain opportunities to teach students, but you cannot be employed as a TA because that is a different job. And your job is to study full-time as a researcher.
And then the last question, if we get accepted into the Fireflies program under a faculty member who is a faculty in FCRR, would we be working only in the Fireflies program, or would we also be able to work in the lab that our faculty member has?
Oh, good point. So Fireflies is funding, okay? So it's the way you get your funding to study full time. And as a part of that funding, you participate in all these different opportunities, this coursework and these pro seminars and this research activities and all those things. But other students are doing that too. You're just doing it through this fellowship program. So what that means is all doctoral students are doing that, and you will do what all doctoral students do. So you will join your advisor's lab and do research with your advisor, just like all other doctoral students will do with their advisor. They just might happen to have a different kind of funding source than you do. So think of Fireflies as the funding source, but maybe a little bit on steroids, because we have all these other things that we're saying you must do, whereas other students who might have other funding opportunities have other things they must do. But all of the things we're asking you to do are similar to what all other doctoral students in your program are required to do. So you will be working in the lab of your faculty advisor, but we're also going to kick you out and make you go work in the lab with somebody else, right? So students who perhaps study with me, who have experience, let's say, in schools and K-12 schools and do research with me in schools, will spend some time working in Dr. Hart's lab, where they do very different kinds of work. A lot of my students do things that are focused, for example, on students who struggle with reading and have reading disabilities, whereas Sarah has a huge project that's focused on pulling in and culling data from across the nation on students with learning disabilities to understand and look at patterns and trends associated with disabilities, and specifically for students who even have reading disabilities. So you might work with Sarah and not go into a school, but instead jump into this huge data system that she's setting up to look at these different, to ask and answer questions associated with reading. So it allows you to look at it in a very different way than I look at it, but it's all still reading. Sarah, you want to give another example? Ooh, what about Cynthia?
Yeah, so a current Firefly student, Cynthia Norris, is my second year PhD student in my lab in developmental psychology. And so she just joined in the first cohort. She's really interested in the role. She has a master's of public health background, and she's interested in general kind of whole child indicators of which children are going to be successful in school. So she just yesterday defended her master's prospectus, so what she plans to do her master's thesis on. And for that, she's going to be looking at the potential causal role of birth weight to reading achievement in children. And so in childhood, I should say. So there has been some correlation between lower birth weight being linked to lower school achievement. And she's going to use a specialized model to be able to see if there's a causal relation between lower birth weight and then reading achievement in children in childhood. So that's the type of work that she's doing in my lab. She's doing that special model within a twin framework. So I look at the nature and nurture of reading development, and a special twin model using a twin sample allows her to do that causal research question. But also this year, she's working with Dr. Patton Terry as her, other research experience. And with Dr. Patton Terry, she's doing a little bit more translational work, and as well as some data work looking at publicly. Yeah, I should just let you describe what she's doing for you, Dr. Patton Terry.
Sure. So what because she's interested in these whole child factors, which or looking at the child holistically, which I am interested in too, we're trying to pull out this publicly available data on economic, child welfare, and health indicators that are associated with third grade reading achievement in schools, right? So general idea is that children struggle in school for many reasons. Sometimes it has to do with things associated with instruction in the classroom, and sometimes it has to do with things that are outside of schools. Can we figure out what that relationship is, what that model looks like, that makes children more or less vulnerable to getting those third grade reading scores, which are super important in schools for things like grade promotion. Kids who, in many states, kids who do not pass the third grade reading test don't get to go to fourth grade. They get held back. So there's a real sort of school or educational policy that really matters to whether or not you consider these whole child factors. And so she's looking at it from an educational slant for me, but she's looking at it in a very different slant with Dr. Hart. So you, a Firefly student, will do both.
Awesome. Are there any other questions? Anyone? Okay. Well, big thank you to Dr. Patton Terry and Dr. Hart. Again, you guys, I've emailed each of you, so you have my email address. I'm sure you'll probably think of some follow-up questions, so please feel free to email me, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. We're very interested in you all, so we're excited to review your applications. Take care.
Bye,
Bye now.
guys.